from Boston and beyond. Heat981fm.com and iHeartStation.
Tonight's episode of Conversations with Coach La is brought to you by Virtual Services by Shamina Austin. Do you need to delegate some tasks, or are you looking to declutter a space? Well, assign it to her. Introducing Virtual Services by Shamina Austin. She's currently accepting new clients and offers a variety of back office services depending on your needs. Contact Shamina at 857-273-1528, 857-273-1528, or email shaminaaustin@gmail.com for more information.
Conversations with Coach La.
Coach La, your favorite neighborhood therapist. Having real hard convos, contrasting pessimists. Generational trauma explored, broach delicate. Getting to the root of the pain, healing impediments. Every week signs copay, free lessons. Bet on self, trust the process, no questions. Feel your feels, journey to be healed, no stressing. Conversations with Coach La's now in session.
From Boston and beyond. Heat981fm.com and iHeartStation.
Nancia, Smokehouse, it's the urban heat. Shout out to Coach La.
Coach LA, it's time to listen to conversations that's gonna keep you winning. Sunday nights at 10 p.m. on the urban heat, just call it. Conversations with Coach La 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 La. Coach La 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 La. If you got something on your mind, you can call in, you can hit a line. She the realest, ooh, she the realest. You can tap in, loud, always get the business to empower you, so that you can do every and anything that you want to. Kicking it with Coach LA, it's time to listen to conversations that's gonna keep you winning. Sunday nights at 10 p.m. on the urban heat, just call it. Conversations with Coach La 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 La. Coach La 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 La.
What's going on, beautiful people? Welcome to another episode of Conversations with Coach La La La. How y'all feeling? Hope y'all feeling good on this Sunday. It's been a great day in my neighborhood. Woo, let me tell you, I've been a busy bee. I've been working out. I went to boxing this week. I went to line dancing this week as we lead into my 49th birthday. Oh my goodness. I am so excited about my birthday, y'all. Because guess what? That means I've been here for almost 50 years. I still can't get over that myself, but I'm excited about that. So I want to give a shout out to my bestie, Let's Move with Rika. She did an awesome line dance class. She does that every first Thursday at Sorrel and Lime, which is another Black-owned establishment right here out in Boston. So you guys know y'all are tuned into Conversations with Coach La, and we are Boston's only Black-owned radio station on the iHeartRadio platform. In tonight's episode, as you guys know, we've been diving deep. We started off this series really looking to our past and looking at what shaped our identities and created the people that we see. And then we started to do self-work and think about, okay, so yeah, that's how I was raised. Those are the things that I saw, but is that who I want to be? And then in series 3, we've been really now talking about doing the work, right? How do you start to control and reframe your narratives? Breaking barriers, healing, growth, and transformation takes effort and work. Some of us say, go pray on it, go to church, give it to Jesus, lay it on the altar. But you can't just pray on things. You actually have to put some effort and some work behind it. Just like me with this weight loss journey. Can't just say I want to lose weight. I got to go and put in the effort. And I'm telling you, today my body is hurting. Shout out to Firm Fit, had me doing my boxing and doing calf rises. I think that's how you say that. All I know is my legs are killing me right now. So tonight we're really going to start really unpacking, I would say, unpacking how do you get there, right? So there was an episode that Oprah did once, and she had a guest on who had anorexia, and the lady was like, you know what, you bring all these great people and we're talking about all these things, but how do you do that? Like, how do you get from A to B to C? How do you know? In the Monopoly, they say, you know, you got to go and collect your $200. So tonight we're really going to start to talk about how do you do that? How do you start to reinvent yourself at any age is what tonight's conversation is all about. So I had to go and find me, he's been here before, but I admire his grind, his hustle, and all of the many hats that he wears. And being that it's also National Minority Mental Health Awareness Month, I wanted to stay in the vein of how do we, as minorities, people of color, how do we really get the work done with so many things that are sort of just against us and sort of will step away from us and take away from us our ability to sort of see ourselves at times between racism and bigotry and discrimination and just all of the isms. We can find ourselves in some very peculiar pickles in our self-esteem and our confidence, and that imposter syndrome gets real. So who am I going to bring on tonight? Well, let me tell you a little bit about my guest. Michael Chief Peterson is a dynamic poet. And not only is he a poet, he's also a dad. And he marries social consciousness with mellow, poetic verses. So what I want to do is I want to bring on a piece that really speaks to me. And I think it's going to sort of speak to him too. It's one of my favorites. So I got it all ready to go. So I'm going to get this going for y'all to hear this piece. And the piece is called Heavy.
Personally, man, things start getting a little easier for me when I start taking responsibility and start understanding that the man in the mirror is responsible of what I have to do and take care of the things that I need to do, you know, and be a better person. And that's the first starts with me. So once I took control of that, I think my life got a lot better.
Thank you for sharing, Mr. Providence. You know, today's society, especially men of color, it's important for us to share. Chief, would you like to share today?
I typically tend to write to help release some stress, but I've been told everything I write has that kind of heavy sense to it. When you carry the weight of the world on your shoulders, the blessings and burden of family on your back, guilt in your heart, a combination of children, work, finances, and fear of being shot, all while being black, your pen becomes exactly that. Heavy. As a black man in America, it's difficult to keep a smile on our faces. We do it anyway. Sometimes carrying this skin is too heavy to bear. We do it anyway. They've only cared about our muscle, but our struggle has become our strength. But who do we lean on when things get tough for us? Black men ain't taught to talk about it. My friends say I should write. Fellas say hit the weights. My family says pray. I am the holy trinity of therapy for black men. Poet, pastor, and personal trainer. Yet what I've learned about slam, the gym, and church are the pressures to be perfect and develop a praiseworthy body of work. I must get as close to the 10 as possible. That's the score, sets, and commandments, but get crucified if the disciples don't believe in my work or word. So I work with the weight of these words I put in these bars before they snap. Because sometimes they heavy, as in the head that wears the crown, the hand that holds the pen, the man that carries the sin, the vein that joy and pain are in. Black men ain't taught to talk about it. My people say write, pray, or lift weights, but both the church and the gym come with books of judges depending upon how much is on the plate. People still in their Genesis think they can chronicle my revelations, but don't know what I keep in my Psalms. Help me do numbers and make an exodus from these stressful acts of life. I'm preaching, y'all. I've worked hard to build this muscle and faith and still have trouble pressing off the pressure. Oftentimes, I curl up in my pew and shrug it off. I dip depression and push up prayers, hoping God heard me. What goes up must come down, a burpee, leaving me standing there, hands shaking, heart racing and sweating, second guessing if writing, prayer, or working out is working out. I lift prayer, push weights, and pen poems, hoping my bars are as hard as my arms so I can protect myself from the lies, scores, and stones you throw. Black men ain't taught to talk about it. Judge when we do, judge when we write, judge when we lift, judge when we pray, judge if we cry. I wipe my tears with the same cloth I'm cut from. That's why my skin's so rough. When enough becomes enough is usually breakfast for us, served a plate of pain. Life often scrambled and over easy, cup runneth over with stress. Too heavy for the table, so we hold that up too. The Bible says the meek shall inherit the earth. But what about the bevy of burdens that comes with it? Black men ain't taught to talk about it. My pen turns spotter to help release this gift. But if the poem don't make you feel resurrected, then call it a dead lift. You welcome me to the church, gym, and slam. Say, come as I am. It's a judgment-free zone. It ain't about the points. It's about the poem. But I can't even write one without being judged, oftentimes by myself. I ain't never been taught to talk about it, just told to hide the heavy. We wear it so you don't have to. We carry it so you don't have to. In the name of the poet, the pastor, and personal trainer, we pray a man is strong enough to carry the weight of the world on his shoulders, because ain't a scale that can measure that. The expectation is to gain faith, lose weight, and replace this pain with poetry. The pen has become my support beam. It keeps me upright, row, chin up, so the world can't see me frown. If the black man falls in the forest, does his trauma make a sound? Since the beginning of time, the black man has always had to pick things up, never realizing how much it weighs us down. We physically lose weight, but every day we put on pounds. But I've learned to accept that heavy will always be the head that wears the crown.
Ooh, yes, yes, yes. It's one of my favorite pieces. I want to give a shout out to all of my brothers, you know, and everybody that's holding something heavy at this moment. Y'all know I do this show in honor of my dad. And so that poem speaks to me, especially with tonight's conversation. So Chief is a playwright of his one-man show, I Wish Life Had Training Wheels. I love that title. He is also the first time ever poet laureate in his hometown of New Britain, Connecticut. He also appeared on seasons 4, 5, and 6 of TV One's hit series Lexus, Versus, and Flow. He is a 3-time Connecticut spoken word Grand Slam champion, as well as a coach for the Connecticut Youth and Adult Poetry Slam teams. He has been featured internationally, including performances in Callaloo Block Party in Kalalisi, Finland, and the 2012 London Olympics. He has graced so many stages with Brian McKnight, Music Soul Child, and Genuine, which y'all know we like a good Genuine show, right? During the Love, Heart, and Soul tour. So without further ado, I want to bring on my very, very good friend, Mr. Chief, the poet. What's going on?
What's happening, man?
How you doing?
What's going on? How you be? How you feel? How you live? How you feeling?
You know, I'm feeling really, really good. It's been a beautiful time in my life. You know, my birthday's in like a few days.
No
Can't
doubt.
believe I'm about to be 49 and fine, baby.
No doubt. 49 of them things.
That's the new 29. So stop playing.
I hear that. Word. Stop playing with her. Stop playing with her.
Stop playing with me. So, you know, you've been here before. You actually
and thank you for having me back.
Yes, I'm glad to see you back. Some people know this, some people don't. So I'm gonna give y'all a little history. So I was, you know, scanning social media for some theme music for Poe Therapy. Y'all know I do Poe Therapy for everybody in Boston. Y'all know that I do Poe Therapy, everybody that's everywhere else. This is a live spoken word event that I do that combines poetry with mental health awareness, and really is to get people together and to create community so people can heal through words.
It's a dope event, y'all. If you're around, pull up.
Yes. So I was looking for music and came across this song called Poe Therapy, poetic therapy, actually. I want to play it. And
there's two versions now. So
two versions. So yeah, so I had the first version as a second version. I actually have the second version pulled up on the screen right now. And I was like, oh my God, I found this song. It's perfect. I'm gonna reach out to I was like, he ain't gonna talk to me. I was like, I think at the time I might have had 100 followers. I don't know. It was really low. And I'm like, I'm gonna reach out and be like, hey, I love your music. Just real corny, right? I love this song. It's inspired me, and it, it goes along with my poetry event. And I'm just wondering, would you come and do some poetry at my event? And I can't pay you. Yeah, like, go figure. Anyways, I slid in his DM, and believe it or not, he was so gracious, so humble. He said, I'm not gonna hold you, sis. You can't afford me, but I like what you're doing in Boston, so I'm gonna pull up. I was
Did
like,
I say that?
yeah, you did. You did. All I remember was being in my office jumping around like a teenage girl. Like, I couldn't believe it, punching my fist in the air, like, yes, ran in the studio, like, he's gonna come. So, like, it was pretty dope that you pulled up, because that show was in honor of my dad. And I told you that. And it was for fathers. It was everything was about dads. And it was the piece that you did with your daughter, Mia, that really stood out, where you and her both do poetry together.
Yeah.
So anyway, so that's the history. I actually really found him. I know people give social media a bad rap, but it's been good to me. It's been really good to me, because you didn't know me from Adam. I was a hole in the wall somewhere. You didn't know me, and and
now look at us. Did we just become best friends?
we're like best friends now. Like, he came, he pulled up. I didn't pull up on his shows, but he's just been doing a lot of great work since he last came. When you last were here, you were nominated for a Grammy.
Nope, I was being considered for a Grammy. Can't say I didn't get the nomination yet.
I gotta get this wording right. You was being considered.
Yeah.
First time, but then you did it a second time too. So it was twice.
Yep.
Twice. So his first Grammy run for consideration, is when we linked up, and then you went ham for the next one. Yeah. You dropped another album. You didn't drop the book. So we've been busy. We've been real busy.
Definitely been busy for sure.
So, Chief, tell us about your journey. I want to understand how you've gone about reinventing yourself, because I know a little bit about your background. Those who've seen you on the show before as being an educator, a dean of discipline. How did you even come to decide to want to be a spoken word artist? Like, because that's a reinvented. You reinvented yourself.
Is this the part where I get vulnerable? I think I sit in that midst of vulnerability, so I don't mind. I'm comfortable in that space.
As your podcast, All Black Men Need Therapy, so you used to this.
Yeah, I am.
You used to going.
But this is different. This is a different platform though. But now, I think in general, man, I think a lot of us artists or creatives in general start from a place of trauma or sadness or hurt or real life events. I'll say. Life events often push us to an artistic medium, and for me, it just happened to be writing. I was going through the bitter breakup blues, and ended up writing about it. I read a poem at an event, and a gentleman, I'll never forget. I was 19, and he was 55. He walked up on me. He shook my hand, like looked through my soul, and was like, "I'm 55 years old, and you said something I've been trying to say my entire life." And I just remember the impact of being like, if my sorrow and sadness can empower somebody, that I'm on the right track. So I went back to that same spot every month and read a sad ass poem. and at the end of the month, he was like, "Yo, dude, you don't got nothing positive going on in your life?" But I'm like, and I just like bet. And I kind of shifted my writing a little bit, and it kind of took off from there, man. And we talk about reinventing ourselves, and I think in the creative realm, you always have to find ways to I'm trying to find ways to level up and continue to outdo my last poem. And that's a struggle I think a lot of us have. We want to outdo the next best, we want to create the next best poem that we have. But I think if we just continue to create art and put it out there, we'll be on the right path. And my guys kill me all the time because I'm writing all the time, but I'm not putting stuff out there. And I'm working on being better at social media posting. And even with that, a while ago, I would have said I'm not good at social media. Now I speak in the affirmative, it's something I'm moving toward, but that's just a lesson I've learned and just speaking in the affirmative. So I'm working towards that part.
I remember you saying that the last time you came, you it wasn't your jam to do a lot of posting, but your content, like the video that I just played for Heavy, you have some really good content where you take your spoken word and you put it to visuals. And that's not the only one you have like that. You guys got to go make sure you go on his YouTube channel. He has a lot of content. So I just wonder, for those that struggle with holding multiple spaces for themselves, this professional side of being a dean of discipline, and then this creative side, people often really struggle with how to be able to do both? And do they ever collide? Right? Like the image that you put out for your professional side versus Chief, the
I
poet.
can't say that there's a collision. I really do try to be authentically me in all of my spaces. What's weird is sometimes I find myself getting in trouble because I'll post my real thoughts on how I'm feeling just on social media or something, and the board of ed be coming, listen, you got to be a little more gentle. Like you can't. So I find myself in a conundrum at some points, but I think there's no real collide. If anything, I try to intertwine them, and I can tell the stories from my job in my poetry, and I can fuse it all together. I can use my poetry to connect with my students and so on and so forth. So I think it's not really collide. It's more of an intertwining. Like it's a gentle mesh of it all to kind of establish rapport, make connections, and inspire the youth, or inspire the people around me. So I don't view it as like a collision or as two separate entities. And it's the irony in it is I've recently met someone who, you know, we all have. So Chief is a nickname given to me. It's not just like my poet name. It's a nickname that my coach gave me when I was in high school. It's been my name ever since. And some people have like stage monikers and where they are an entirely different person.
Yes.
Poet is different from the person. And I recently learned that. I'm like, yo, I got to respect that, but it's just not how I operate. Like I'm Chief wherever I go.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And there's not much of a difference between the poet and the person. Like we're all intertwined. We're one and the same. And
I think that's what I find that's unique about you, and where we share a lot of similarities. Like Coach is Lakeisha is Coach. It's not like I'm this different person by day or by night. Like, and people are always shocked, like, wow, you're really the same the way you are on your show. And my clients, if they would have watched this show, be like, no, that's my therapist. That's how she is in the therapy session too. I think that's incredibly difficult to have such a switch. I think you need to have an authentic base of who you are. Yes, you may have things that are boundaries in one space versus another. Like I'm not necessarily gonna, I can't curse on this show, but I do curse sometimes in session.
Oh, my bad.
Did you curse?
I just said the A word.
Yeah, no, I think that's okay.
That's acceptable.
But that's acceptable. I mean, I have Southern roots. I can really curse. Like I can curse really well. But I can't let it rip like that on this show. It's not appropriate. So that might be a change. You'd be like, oh my God, I saw her and she likes to curse. And you go, really? She curses? I didn't hear her curse before. She always speaks professionally. But they're gonna still say I'm authentic, I'm funny. Well, not my family, they think I'm corny. But other people think I'm funny. Shout out to my nephew too. I seen you on here. You should be in the bed. Why are you watching my show? It's not for kids. But yeah, he's on his mother's iPad and he's like, hi, this is Aiden.
What's up, Aiden?
He's like,
shout out to you.
It's AJ. I'm like, he's like, okay, I'm getting off now. I saw you. I see you. And bye. Yes, Auntie saw you. Leona, get your iPad. It's on here watching me. And shout out to everybody on Instagram too for checking in, and YouTube and Twitch. Word. Y'all checking in. I see y'all. Thank you for the check-ins.
Well, I sent the YouTube link and the Instagram link to my people. So shout out to all y'all who did tap in.
Yes, I see y'all. Y'all can comment too. Make this an interactive conversation, because ideally we really want, if you're struggling with this, with reinventing yourself, do you find that when you want to make this leap, that people want to sort of hold on to whatever image or perception of you that they think you should be? So what challenges do you think you faced pivoting these careers that you have, and how did you push through that?
So I mean, that's a double-edged sword. So there's a lot of like, I think people become enamored with the man they see on stage and don't necessarily know the person behind. So they get that piece, and I think the limelight is what gets them. But I'm still like a regular, like a regular dude. Like I like going to the poetry spots and like hanging out with the people. I don't want to be in the back. Even at my shows, like I want to be out mingling with the folk and just having conversation. But some events you got to be in the back, and the people can't see you, and so on and so forth. But I think for me, I really do like, it's a kind of repeated answer, just being authentic to who I am. There's no real, the challenge is kind of just getting people to understand that I'm just like them. Like I really do. A lot of my writing is designed to impact emotionally, regardless of what that emotion is. I want to be able to connect. And once you connect, you've pulled people into your story. So I think the challenge is making sure I'm creative enough to be entertaining, but authentic enough for relatability.
Oh, was that a bar? You always are so poetic like this all the time. Everything sounds like a poem when you're talking. Like, geez. I think although you are good at it, I think a lot of people do struggle with this idea of reinventing themselves or how to be in two spaces at once. So if I want, for instance, shout out to Vic Breedy, she had to create a whole pen name, right? Because of the work that she did. She didn't want anybody to know that she was the one writing the books because of the content that she was writing.
Gotcha.
The idea of, and I'm gonna throw up a stat right now, that most people as they age feel like, they're out of time, or they can't do certain things like go back to school, or you're too old to be a rapper. I'm too old to get into poetry now. I should have did it when I was younger. How do we, show up in these spaces despite age? I think that you have a very young spirit. You do a lot of things that maybe some people like, oh yeah, hang that up. Well, granted, poets don't really have to. We kind of are locked into. I don't know. That's one thing you can get older and still do and still be cool. I think. I don't know. They kind of give rappers a bad name, but not necessarily poets. Like, you could be 80 and still be a poet.
So I think for me, it's been finding the next thing to keep me motivated. And I think this Grammy run has been something that's really been inspiring. It's forced me to push my pen. It's forced me to step into a bigger realm of social media. It's forced me to learn some different things. And I think I've recently accepted the fact that I can't do it all by myself.
Oh,
and through this whole process, it's like, bro, you need a team. And I'm like, and I'm having this conversation with the guys, like, yo, I want a team, but I want it to be people who believe in me, people who are willing to continue to fuel the fire and support me in a way because they believe in my work. And then, we have the real conversation. Well, do you want to pay the best person for the job or the person believes in you the most? And it's a reality you got to look at. Like, sometimes, you got to put your money in people who do what they do. Like, there are social media strategists out there who can get busy and give me exactly what I need, but I'm shying away from them because I don't know if they believe in me or they just want my dollar.
That's a great point, because I can be good at what I do and not necessarily believe in you or believe in your work.
Right.
And I would want alignment, right? I would want to believe in the people that I get behind or who hires me. I would want that, but I'm sure that that's not everybody's value system. So when you start thinking about what are your core values versus someone else's, they may not be in alignment. Like, I know how to get the job done. I know how to do your graphics. I know how to make sure that all your SEOs are aligned, so you get the views or whatever. But I could care less what your poems are about, right?
And that's what I'm saying.
I don't care what you're talking about. I don't even listen to what you be sending me. I just know how it should look aesthetically. So I think that is, part of the reinventing of yourself is to get really clear on what your core values are and what you believe, because it isn't always about the money, right? You want a team that, like you said, that believes in it, that you respect. And they may not always know all the answers or be, the best at the job, but they still get the job done. There's a quote I love, is that done is better than perfect.
Yeah. And that's so funny. That's so funny. Bell says that his wife actually gave that to him, and he says it to me a lot. But my guys on the All Black Money Therapy podcast, they're constantly on my heels. And like, I just learned that I operate in artist brain, and my man Bell has a business mind. And it's just like, when he's trying to, like, we had like an epiphany moment where, like, a serendipitous moment, I guess, where we were at a performance together, and he kind of saw me in my artist space for the first time. He's like, oh, now I get it. And I'm like, oh yeah, now I get. And it was kind of cool. Like, I see how he operates, and he sees how I operate. So it's kind of cool. But I'm learning, like, the business acumen of it all, and that's even part of, like, reinventing yourself. Like, you can't just be the artist now. You got to be the businessman too, because you are the business.
Right.
You dig what I'm saying? So
you're the brand.
Right.
You know,
branding, something else you got to learn about. Like,
yes.
like all of that.
Yeah. It's branding all the time.
Yeah.
And so one of the quotes I came upon, I put it on the screen. AARP actually did this study that 72% of adults over 40 have considered making a major life change, and 43% actually did within the last 2 years.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, granted, these stats don't always come out right away. So again, guys, this is from 2022. I realize that, but most times these studies don't come out for every 5-10 years before you get new data. But I think this is still very true to where I find myself approaching my 49th birthday, reflecting about like, wow, I'm 1 year away from 50. What now? Am I on track for where I want to be? Is there something more I could be doing or something less that I should be doing? When you think about your own career and you think about where you are, what does reinvention mean to you now in this moment?
For me, it's not so much reinventing the process. It's reinventing the process of how I go about it now. It's learning the things that I didn't know. It's not relying on solely my talent to get me there. It's doing dirty work behind it. It's the intricacies of it all, rather than just being like, I can put this poem together and rock a stage. But now I have to make the connections. I have to network. I have to talk to people. I have to, build these bridges and help myself propel. And that's something I would go to a show, do my thing, be super proud of it, and then kind of just slide out the back door.
Wow, really? You did that?
Yeah.
What would make you slide out the back door?
I was, because like I say it in one of my poems, like I'm like extrovertedly introverted. Like
yes,
I can
do. That's another one of my favorite pieces.
You know what I'm saying? Like, so like I can be the life of the party, but I don't really party no more. So I'll be chilling. You know what I'm saying? So I kind of slide out. But now I'm learning just, to network and to mingle with people and to make connections. But I've been so independent my whole life and believing that I can get things done that I do it. And when I fall short, I'm putting a lot of pressure on myself. Like I didn't do enough, but no, you probably just didn't ask for help that you could have gotten easily, because there are a ton of people in your corner willing to do so, but you didn't ask for it. So now I'm learning to reinventing me now is like stepping outside of the comfort zone of asking for help, of learning the things that I may not have wanted to learn or took the time to learn, and just putting that there. So it's building a better me. It's not reinventing is me. I'm the reinventing versus like the actual craft, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I could see that. I mean, when you think about, you have a staple, right? So poetry, spoken word, like it's pretty it's the blueprint to how that should be done or what's going to work, right? There's a set way of doing it, right? There's mechanics to it, there's a theory to it. But when you think about getting beyond that to propel it to a place of making it lucrative, I would say, even though I think you've done a good job with that too.
Yeah, I do well.
Some tips, and I was like, wow. I mean, I didn't even think about that. You could take poetry to some of the extent and some of the places that you've taken it, especially now with there being a whole category in the Grammys. So there's so much that has evolved, and I think that's a reinventing too. Like to see poetry in a different space and for it to be in the Grammys, that's not something that was just given. People had to actually advocate for that to occur.
Yep.
And I think
shout out to my man Jay Ivy.
Shout out to Jay Ivy. So I think we're constantly reinventing in some ways. And I think what I've been talking about in these last few episodes is, how do you go from this is how I was raised, this is what I know, this is just how I am, to changing yourself and evolving past that and transforming past that, which in essence is another form of reinventing, right? When you start to go against the grain and be the cycle breaker in your family, people can be looking at you very strangely, like, who are you? Like, I don't know this version of you, right? This is not what I'm used to you being like or you doing, especially when you start setting boundaries and saying no, and you're just switching up the game. Folks, some people can't stomach it.
Yeah, I got a solid core of brothers around me, solid core of people around me who have encouraged me to, again, step out of my comfort zone. We're very forward and upfront with one another, so they'll call me out on things that I may not have known, help me identify things. And what a key part of it is just being more open to perspective. I'm hearing from people and taking in different perspectives, and it's really allowing me to process all the information, just become a better me. But I have a tight core of people around me who will hold, put my foot to the fire and say, listen, bro, it's time to step or you're gonna get burnt. And they hold me accountable, and I'm as stubborn as they can be, and they still keep pushing, and I'm forever grateful for them.
Yeah. Shout out to your co-host of All Black Men Need Therapy. Your podcast is super dope. Because,
Thank you. Shout out to my man Prentice and Bell for sure.
Yes, Prentice and Bell. The synergy, what the dance that you guys do verbally is quite entertaining and informative to listen in on how those conversations go, from the check-ins to the actual meat and potatoes of the dialogue. It's refreshing to hear Black men not cower away from holding each other accountable. Like there's some tough conversations where they've called you out too, like, oh, are you upset? Are
all
you
the
mad?
time. All the time.
I'll be cracking up because now that I know you guys and like been in your spaces to know you a little bit more, I can only imagine the facial expression.
Oh man. And you caught it. You were privy to I think that was one of our best episodes, our best conversation. The live one in person, that the live one you came to.
Yeah,
that was dope. That was a powerful day in general. Like it was just that was really, really dope. So you were privy to something that a lot of people weren't. I
will never forget that that trip and being in my space about, no, I'm not gonna go. No, stay home. And witnessing the conversation, the healing. We talked offline earlier about daddy issues and mommy issues, which I think have a lot to do sometimes with our reinventing of ourselves, because the first people who imprint on you are your parents,
right.
And your caretakers. And sometimes that imprint is not always the best imprint. Sometimes that imprint is very unhealthy, it's toxic, it creates a lot of your self-esteem issues, a lot of your imposter syndrome. I know parents, this is gonna suck, but sometimes you're the root cause of this stuff. People come to therapy. I don't want to talk about my childhood. I don't want to talk about my parents. I'm not here to do any of that. I know that's what all therapists want to do, but all I really want to understand is why can't me and my wife get along? Why is it that I can't stand my boss? Why is it that I have road rage? Like, I don't want to talk about my parents. I don't want to talk about my childhood. I don't want to talk about what happened to me as a kid, because I don't think that has anything to do with this. My wife, she just doesn't listen. So it's interesting. No matter what, I'm looking in the camera. No matter what, every therapy session, eventually we talk about your childhood.
Yeah, we got to go back to it, because you never realize how much that stuff shows up, man. It's super, super important, and it plays a much bigger role than we even realize, than we even think to realize.
Which brings me to my favorite question.
Uh-oh.
What does therapy mean to you? I know we talked about it the last time you were here, but I'm curious, how is it playing a role in your life now? Because I think last time we were here, you had not gone to therapy. You did not have a therapist, but you were considering it. It wasn't something you were opposed to, but your podcast served as your therapist.
Yeah. Talking to my guy started off as my therapy, and we had a session about fatherhood and about daddy issues. And I'm listening to Prentice and Bell talk about their experiences with their dad. And I didn't speak for like 30 minutes on the podcast. And I'm like the facilitator, like I'm always in the middle of something, but I'm not speaking. And I found myself getting angry. And it was like, I really have nothing to contribute to this conversation in terms of like experience, because I didn't have any. And I was angry, and I'm like, yo, this is so much deeper than I thought it was. Like you probably should talk to somebody about this. So that's kind of how it happened. Like I remember that conversation clear as day. And after that conversation, I reached out, did some Googling, met some people, tried out 2 different therapists, found one I was kicking it with for a while, and everything was good. And I recently got an appointment with a new one on Tuesday. My previous therapist had some personal things happen. Somebody got murdered in her family. She's on hiatus now. So yeah. So she's dealing with, even the therapist need a therapist sometime. But no, therapy has been monumental for me. And just in terms of being able to look in the mirror, I think the hard part for most people is looking in the mirror, acknowledging what it is we need to acknowledge, accepting it, and then actually doing something about it.
Right.
Because it can be put on the table and going, okay, yeah, I understand about myself, but what are you doing to be better? And I've been actively working on just being a better person, moving with good intentions and operating in a space of love that kind of helps myself and the people around me just become better people.
Yeah. You know, it's something to sit back and to be self-reflective. I often encourage my clients, it's not about you coming and being honest with me. It's whether or not you can be honest with yourself and can you trust yourself. Right. And what I tried to, why did you laugh?
Because that mirror is cold-blooded, man. And we'll tell ourselves, I told myself stories for a while. And the fellas will be like, nah, that ain't it, bro. This is how you showing up. And I'm like, damn, really? Like, because we'll feed ourselves stories to avoid having to confront the real issues, for sure.
I'm glad you said that, because I don't think a lot of people think about the narratives that they play about what their reality is. We can ghostlight ourselves. We talk a lot about people ghostlighting us, but often we will sit in our own delusions of what things are, and we don't really want to deal with it because it's painful. Yep. I truly believe, as a therapist, that has probably been my most aha moment with people reinventing themselves, is that often they haven't gotten to a place of really being honest about where they're at, what they need, or asking for help. Right. And one of your episodes with the fellas, that came up for you. I think that might have been with you and Bell.
Oh, we had the argument.
That was a big that episode. I was sitting and I was uncomfortable. I was clutching my own invisible pearls, because they pretty much called you out on almost wanting to struggle.
Yeah. Yeah. It's fair. And I put myself through that. But again, when you don't realize how you're showing up, and like you're literally doing things so you don't have to ask people and putting yourself through more difficult times, you're like, damn, why did I do that?
Right.
And again, when you don't have people in your corner telling you about that, you're going to continue to do the same thing. So I have people who will tell it like it is, and I gotta own it. And again, my stubbornness wouldn't allow me to, my pride or ego, whatever you want to call it, wouldn't allow me to, until you sit back and go, bro, you're just hurting yourself. So you got to make an adjustment, and that's kind of where I'm at now. Still trying to adjust to discomfort.
Yes, I'm glad I have learned, and for everybody out there, is to get comfortable with being uncomfortable.
For sure.
I've shared with a lot of people recently, my commitment to my fitness and health journey. I'm currently,
shout out to you for that.
Thank you. I'm currently down 100 pounds.
No shit. No,
that's okay. I was 370 pounds. I'm now.
Shout out to you.
I'm 277. I'm still not where I want to be. I want to be 190. But I had to come to terms with, thank you. I had to come to terms with just not wanting to do it. Right. And not wanting to be uncomfortable, and not liking like I feel right now. I am in so much pain. My thighs hurt, my butt hurts, my calves hurt. Like, I literally feel like I am walking around like an old person. I am in so much pain, right, from these workouts. And you get 1 day of rest pretty much, and then you're back at it again. Not everybody's running to go put themselves in pain, right? But I really had to come to terms with the reality of what's more painful, And I hate to say that, but that's really what it came down to, is what's more painful.
The quote, I can't remember who said it, but we use on a podcast all the time. If you don't make time for your wellness, you'll be forced to take time for your illness.
No, and that part sucks.
Word up.
So sucks. But one of the things that we talked about, and people probably know this, but maybe some don't, is that narrative therapy, which is something that I use a lot in my practice. And one of the things that I connect the poetry to, because sometimes it's hard to sit down and write like a whole, letter to yourself, a novel, a script. But a poem, often people can digest and kind of can do that, and it doesn't feel so overwhelming. But narrative therapy really encourages individuals to reauthor their life stories by shifting perspectives, which you already alluded to, embracing identity transformation.
Yep.
And as you're sitting here and you're talking about adjusting to being uncomfortable and asking for help, what are you needing to shift in your identity to do that?
Perspective is the key word for me. So for example, the narrative therapy that recently came to me was in my current project I'm working on. It's called Ashes of the Alpha, and it's like deconstructing toxic masculinity. And one of the poems I have in there is called "It's an Ode to Vulnerability," forgiveness. I'm sorry, forgiveness is the one I want to talk about, where I apologize to my sister, who we have the same father. And in my poetry for quite some time, I was vilifying this man who is her hero.
Wow.
You know what I'm saying? And it's like, how fair is that? But I never looked at it from her perspective.
Wow.
You dig what I'm saying? So it's
That's
like,
deep.
so I apologize to her. I apologize to every heart I've broken and mistreated. And then I apologize to my father in the poem, where I don't know his backstory. Did he have a father growing up? Was he, was he abandoned? Did he have daddy issues, mommy issues? We never really got into that conversation. So in growing and being able to adopt different perspectives, it's allowed me to give grace and free myself of that tension and disdain, or whatever we want to call it. But there was a lot of hurt in there, and only seeing it from my perspective wouldn't allow me to release it. But when I start adopting other perspectives and really hearing the environment around me and seeing what's going on, it puts myself open to change and to embracing that transformation within.
You just touched on something that I often talk about in therapy, that there's always multiple perspectives, but I think for blended families, that's often pretty much the case. I think it's is it the American Affleck? I forgot the one, the show with the young man. His father leaves. All American, I think is what it's called. Okay, his father leaves and ends up meeting another woman who has kids, and was the stand-up father to her kids, while he was missing in his own child's life.
Yep.
And they didn't have the same opinion of him. And they often, you're a villain in someone's story and a hero in somebody else's story. Yep. And I think your vulnerability, even acknowledging breaking of someone else's heart and not always doing the right thing, I think that takes a lot of courage and self-reflection to just realize, you know what, I'm not always in the right myself.
Yeah.
But I think when you get there, you also really want that back, the reciprocating of other people being self-reflective. And I found the more self-reflective that I am, everybody else is not necessarily as self.
Yeah, that's also true.
Willing to take the accountability of what they do and how that impacts other people. And I think that's been, the most difficult thing for myself and my clients too. Because as you're doing the work, that doesn't mean your circle is doing the work. That doesn't mean your parents are doing the work, or that they're even ready to have these conversations that you're now ready to hear and receive.
Mm-hmm.
They still are very much closed off and don't even want to go there to talk about how and why they showed up the way that they did, even though you're not even in this place of pointing fingers anymore. You really just want to understand.
Yep. And there's a quote I saw the other day too, and it said, I go to therapy to deal with the people who don't go to therapy.
Isn't that
with people in my life who don't go to therapy?
Yeah. And so one of the other things I love, and I always try to give you guys, different theoretical perspectives to look at, but relational cultural theory also highlights the same thing of us needing connection and needing empathy and human development and life transitions. Believe it or not, most people who become parents, there's a misconception that as soon as you find out about the idea that you're going to have a child, that you're going to get these instincts. At least that's what I think I've been taught that. I don't know if you were taught that too. And not everybody gets them. Some people actually run away even more. It's the most scariest thing, and they never completely show up into that role, which is why back in the day you had your grandparents and your aunties and different things taking on the parenting roles for a lot of people's parents. Yeah. So anyway, why is all of this important, right? I think when you're trying to find your identity, and step out of the pack, step out of what you've known. It can be one of the scariest things that you ever have to do, because you can feel like you have no idea of what to do at that point, because you can't model any of the people that you've seen, because you've already decided that what they've shown you isn't what you want to do. So how do you figure that out? And so I would love to kind of ask you, how have you been able to navigate in lieu of, because I know we've talked about your father not being there. We've talked about your mom being your rock, but you are such a great dad.
Thank you. Thank you very
Right?
much. That's one of the greatest compliments I can ever receive.
Like despite all that, like, how do you do that when so many people will say, well, I didn't see it, no one did it for me? Like, what do you think makes you be able to do that?
I mean, shout out to TV, I guess. You know, you learn things. You learn. I mean, shout out to TV and books and other families. I think for me, like, I have a friend who grew up just like I did, similar situation, no dad around, and he was so triggered by it that he didn't want to have children. And mine was the complete opposite. Like, I wanted to, and I wanted to be the best father I could be. So it does impact people in different ways, but I think just I don't know where that desire came from, but I do know I modeled what I do and how I behave in my parenting situation from television, from books, from friends and family, from trial and error at my job. Like, I've been working, every job I've ever had has been dealing with children. So I'm able to navigate a lot of the experiences in there and kind of bring them home and use them on my children. But it's been a passion of mine since I can remember. I've always been passionate about kids and I've always wanted to be a father. And I remember the moment I learned I was going to be, it's as clear as day in my head. So it's something I'm super thankful for. And I think just surrounding myself with people who are upstanding dudes. Like, you see the quote, it says, like, how come dudes who have friends who don't take care of the kids don't say anything to those friends? Like, no, I don't have those friends. You know what I'm saying? Like, and it's crazy because my homegirl has an older daughter. My homeboy's daughter was talking to her mom, and she was just like, she was reading a book about something and, you know, talking about how dads aren't there. She's like, Mom, I don't know anybody like this. Like, all the dad's friends take care of their kids. And I think that's just the coolest compliment, when you're just surrounded by people who are doing the right thing.
Right.
You know, so
right.
Getting yourself around positive people and it'll just change your world. They say you're a combination of the 5 people you spend the most time around. And when I think about that, I'm like, wow, like, my personality traits are really wrapped around those 5 people. And it's kind of interesting how it happens.
Yeah. And I think, you know, one of the things in general, you know, is that by having great people around you, you can overcome a lot of that imposter syndrome and a lot of the anxiety with networking, because they're helping you. You know, I've been told my name is showing up in rooms that my feet have not even stepped into, and I really give that to networking.
Yeah,
right.
That's a beautiful thing.
The more you network, the more likely that people will be putting you into more spaces. Of course, you got to have integrity and all the other things that go along with it. But
yeah,
I think those are some good things. So I can't believe this conversation is just going by so fast. Maybe they keep telling me I need more time. Maybe they're right. So let's get into my favorite part of the show, right?
Bet on self.
The bet on self moments, right? And now most people who have been listening, because I got a lot of people who listen all the time, that y'all know what a bet on self moment is at this point, right? But these are those moments in your life where you really, really take the reins and you say, if not now, then when? And if not me, then who? And despite what people may have told you were going to be and what you were going to do, you go, yeah, nah, I got a different plan for myself.
Yeah.
So talk to me about bet on self moments that you're having in this moment, either past, present, or maybe even something you're thinking about in the future.
I mean, that's going to key. That's this small part of the conversation can go on forever. So I'm betting on myself and a bunch of different things. I'm heavily considering transitioning careers. And I'm leaning in 2 different directions. Entrepreneurship and then becoming a principal at a school somewhere. I think I'm I'm in limbo with it all, but I have to jump. And I think part of my problem is comfort. I'm way too comfortable, and the fellas ask me to step outside of that, but I'm not afraid. And it's crazy because it's such a conundrum, because I sit here and go, I'm not afraid to bet on myself, but I haven't made a jump yet.
Mm.
You know what I'm saying? Like, I
Okay,
1000% believe in me.
I hear you.
I gotta bust that move. But
every
just
time
like-
you come on the show and when you say stuff like that, next thing you do. You know, I don't know if this is like a manifestation, but you said you was gonna go heavy hard for your next Grammy run, and
yeah,
so I feel like whenever you speak things in existence, you do.
So that's my current issue. So the Grammy run, like I do have an album I'm working on right now, but I'm thinking about pausing it and releasing it next year for the next Grammy run, just because I want to do it right this time. I want to invest the capital behind it. I want to have it quality produced from top to bottom. I want everything aligned. I got my plan laid out, but I'm late on acting on it. I'm like, you know what? You don't have to rush, bro. Do it the right way. And I think that's one of them things where I'm betting on myself. Like, if I really take the time to get it done, and now I have a full year and some change to really, really lock in. I've learned so much over the last year. I'm betting on myself that if I take this break right now and come back harder and stronger than ever next year, ain't gonna be no stopping me.
It's so interesting that we're talking about breaks, because there's a Chat GPT prompt, and it pretty much goes, based on everything you know about me, be brutally honest with me and tell me what I need, what is holding me back, what are the barriers that are getting in my way, right? And one of the things it was saying was, for me, was spreading myself too thin. Like, I have everything that I need in place, but I'm trying to do too much, and I need to build a team. So I think ultimately you have to sometimes pivot and pause to find the people. And I think if you have any trauma backgrounds, often we are busy, or we stay busy because that's what we've been kind of conditioned to do, is just to keep moving, keep doing. Because then you don't have to really think about or see everything that's really going on around you. And sometimes you do need to pause and reflect on all that you've learned, how far you've come, to be able to make the calculated and strategic step to really get real clear on your next goal. I put a prompt up here for you guys to think about, everybody who's listening. Where in your life are you networking to be seen versus to be supported? Often when we think about this idea of reinventing ourselves, we really, really have to get to that place of deep self-reflection. And I didn't put this up too soon. You see, I got to get my timing together, but I got this other one that, they made for me. Coach's Corner. Thank you.
Coach's Corner.
Right? So I kind of already started jumping into that. That's just how my brain works, y'all. But when you think about everything we've been talking about, one of the reasons why I bring just humans, because that's what I want. I want human beings on my show, right? Like, that are going to be authentic, that can just have a conversation, because we often think we're so different from the people that we see doing these amazing things, right? That some reason, some way that we breathe different, we just must be different, right? And we are dealing with some of the same life struggles, if not more. We get afraid, we are unsure, we don't always ask for help. We deal with the same things. But at some point, we have to just do what I say, which is going to sound so cool. We got to bet on ourselves. We got to step out those comfort zones, and we have to make a move. Like, put me in, coach. You just got to make a move.
And it's so great you said that, because you say, put me in, coach. And the concept behind that is, you're on a team. Betting on yourself doesn't mean you have to do it by yourself. And that's something I had the toughest time embracing. But betting on yourself does not mean you have to do it by yourself.
It does not. In this next chapter of your life, right? It is dependent on your courage, and are you willing to turn the page, right? Sometimes we get so stuck on that page or that chapter, and we think that there's nothing left, but we don't realize you are the author. You're writing it all along, right? Even though life is happening around you, you're writing your response. You're writing your perspective. You're writing how you're going to interpret what it means. You're determining what emotions you want to put to it. So
For sure.
I always talk about the framework of Bet on Self, which people don't realize that this isn't about you being selfish. This is not about you not working as a team. But how can you expect people to believe in you when you don't believe in yourself? Right.
Mhm.
So you have to believe in your ability to grow again and elevate your perspective on aging and change. For some of us over 40 people, you start to feel like, you know what, you're running out of time. You start feeling like the clock is ticking. You haven't reached these certain societal milestones that they say you should reach. So you feel like you are not successful or you don't have reasons to be happy. And I want to really challenge that narrative.
Mhm.
Take action and, really think about your self-worth and not societal pressure. Because, a lot of people have what society has told them to have and they're miserable.
Yes.
So you really got to think about what it is that you want and what you need. And like I told you guys last week, what do you need? What do you want? And what are your non-negotiables in this life? Make sure that they are in alignment with all of this pressure, because sometimes you don't even know why you want what you want. You've just been told that that's what you're supposed to want. Any closing thoughts from you, Chief?
Word. No, it's always dope to have these conversations with you. We've gotten deep on many different occasions, and I appreciate you more than you know. I thank you for having me. I implore all the people listening and tapping in to please take a moment and bet on yourself, believe in yourself, and don't be afraid to ask for help if you need it.
Absolutely. Remember, you are not starting over. You're starting wiser. You're reinventing. Reinvention is not rejection of your past, but a reintroduction to your power. And the next version of you deserves to be seen. See y'all next week.
Word.
And thank you for sitting on the virtual couch. Peace out,
Appreciate y'all.
Make sure you go bet on yourself.
Thank you, Coach.
See you later, Chief.
Later.
Shout out to Coach
Kicking
Live.
it with Coach LA, it's time to listen to conversations that's gonna keep you winning. Sunday nights at 10